Again, I think Nigerian television channel and all the journalists in Nigeria should be, regulated by the federal government so they can be able to follow the ethic code of conduct in journalism, because I can see that most of them are performing out of professionalism and engaging and blowing stories out of proportion, or blowing things out of content. I have diligently followed up the interview by the Arise channel to Kemi Omulola, the journalist, and I have seen where Kemi, emphasize his grievances, personal grievances to Hush Puppy, because Hush Puppy refused to contribute money to him when she came out of jail from Port Harcourt, because she said that, according to her, Hush Puppy asked her to, apologize to a journalist whom Kemi, wrote some trash against, But the Nigerian journalists or the television channels, specifically this Arise channel, I believe they have broken a security protocol, because you don't bring somebody to your, interview room and let the person engage in talking all kind of trash, quoting things out of content, quoting things, overblowing some information, putting some law enforcement agencies' life at risk, saying things out of nowhere, something that doesn't exist, by claiming he have a contact with FBI, have a contact with CIA, have a contact with Secret Service. No secret service in the world can give you information and tell you not to say that. They are more professional, well trained, well educated. No law enforcement agency, specifically Secret Service, anywhere in the world, can have a personal interaction with just a journalist. They don't do that. Nobody brought that protocol. America is not Nigeria. There is no way an FBI or CIA or Secret Service agent can be calling Kemi, or Kemi calling the person, giving information and say, "Hey, don't say my name." Those are trash and fairy tale. I know how those things works in the Western world. It's not Nigeria where anything goes. So I think people should be more professional when they are engaging in journalism. Look at Kemi on this interview, trying to talk about this and that and how to hack, and how could someone claim to be a journalist come on national television trying to give a public lecture to all the Yahoo boys across the world? How can such a person come to a television and giving a public lecture trying to educate criminals or educate Yahoo boys, educating public on how to go about a computer? Those things, she have no knowledge of what she's talking about. So you don't breach a security protocol by talking anyhow, giving information that is irrelevant. When somebody asks you A, you're answering Z. You should not be given that chance, and all the television channels should be able to, to educate anybody they want to interview, to ask this person, some preliminary question to test his knowledge, both psychologically and physically, to see how the person can answer question, to educate the person, to know when the person cross a red line. I would like you now to, have a look. If you check this interview, I will want you to go through it. I want you to listen, have a time to listen to this interview. You can be able to spot the unprofessionalism act of this Arise channel, so that some people can be able to checkmate them. So once people know that they are being checkmated, then they can be able to put professionalism act of whatever they are doing. I want you to listen to this interview where Kemi have given a lot of trash based on
the Nigerian-born international scammer and Instagram celebrity Ramon Abbas, also known as Hush Puppy, is still facing trial in the United States of America for advanced fee fraud. Prior to his arrest and extradition to the U.S. last year, he was alleged to be the ringleader of a gang of fraudsters that facilitated computer intrusion, business email compromise, fraud, and money laundering from his base in Dubai. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, which had been on this trail for years, said his victims, mostly in the U.S., had been dupe of hundreds of millions of dollars. If convicted, Abbas could spend the next 20 years in the U.S. federal prison. We'll now be getting the latest update on his last court appearance on Tuesday. From the head Judicial Human Rights and Anti-Corruption Desk of Premium Times, Ade Somoju, and popular blogger and social media commentator Dr. Kemi Oluloyo, but we'll be following the trial virtually. Welcome to the show, Kemi and Ade. Kemi, you can start first and just give us an update, and Ade will give us an update afterwards. And it's a pleasure to have both of you. Good morning.
Rufai, good morning. Thank you so much for having me on Arise. Good morning.
Morning. So, Kemi, you go first. An update of what is happening.
Basically, I broke the story last year when they arrested him that evening. And then there was a point when I started connecting with all the Dubai reporters at the Gulf Times. And a lot of them would give me information back and forth as an investigative journalist. Now, what I did basically was, I just stood by on what was going on. 12 people were arrested. And then I got a tip that they were going to America. But it wasn't all 12. 2 of them, Olale Komponle Woodbury, another socialite on Instagram, and Hush Puppy. So I kept updating the fact that they're not even in Dubai anymore. Those 2 were in, America. And I was trying to really find out how they got them there, because UAE and Nigeria don't have UAE and America don't have extradition treaties. So I discovered they went by extraordinary rendition, and the 2 that went were Hush Puppy and Woodbury. Now, the bottom line is this. When they got to the United States, there were all kinds of accusation charges. Remember, Nigerians were still bent on the fact that they were in Dubai, and some of our local newspapers were actually reporting that they're going to be extradited. Hush Puppy was going to be extradited to Nigeria. So it's very hard when you're an independent journalist and you have a mainstream paper saying something else. People don't want to believe you. Okay, so when they got to America, they were transferred to MCC, Metropolitan Correction Center in Chicago. And while they held them there, they were putting the charges together, the FBI. I had sources in the FBI, I had sources in the United States Secret Service, and even the State Department. These crimes were a small internet syndicate that turned into an elaborate heist. That's how I describe it. One simple internet scam. When Yahoo started, you had all our young people on computers coercing people to give them passwords, to give them advance fees. My dad's a famous prince. He has oil and I want to get it out, blah, blah, blah. But this is what they call serious internet scam, mostly BEC, business email compromise, where they hack into company computers, companies' emails, and they take out huge amounts of money. Now, talking about heist, how do you enter a company's whatever? They fish into it. The word is fishing, and I want to use this opportunity on Arise to actually say it. It's fishing. Our young people call it phishing. Oh, let's do some phishing. It's fishing. They fish into the computers. When they enter the computers of these companies, they don't steal right away. They sit there for 2 to 3 weeks to monitor how the companies are getting their invoices out, how the CEO is ordering money from the finance department downstairs, and how everything's working. When they study it well, they now clone the website of the company. They get into the email, of these CEOs and these finance department and trick them into sending money. And one of the main cases in this Hush Puppy case was that of a law firm who was refunding $922,000 back to their client. Their client refinanced a piece of real estate, and they were getting that money back. The paralegal, in the documents that the FBI put together, the paralegal, KC, is her initial. She was tricked into sending.
Hi, let's hold it there and analyze this, because you can hear when she said that she have her sources in SBI, Secret Service, and Home Office. Nobody comes to television channel to say something like that, because it's impossible. Even if you have your link, nobody come to. If you have any contact like that, you don't blow it and say, "Look, I have a friend, or I have somebody sources in Secret Service, FBI." They don't collaborate with individuals. They have a protocol, well-respected protocol, not to deal with somebody like Kemi Obulola in another continent. That is impossible. No Secret Service agent in the world. You can't even know who is a Secret Service agent. They can live next to you for 100 years, you will never know. It's impossible. They are not like people in Nigeria, Nigerian police force that, can pose with a gun or flag off all kind of uniform, everything on social media. If these people live quiet life, you can't even know. Everything is secret. There is a confidentiality in everything Secret Service do. So I don't want anybody to listen to this trash and say from what she's saying. Secondly, you can never in your real world, even FBI can never know who is sitting on computer across the globe. It's impossible to know who is sitting in computer at that particular time. Nobody knows. You can only figure out. It's impossible as an investigator for you to know who is sitting in a computer in Australia. It's impossible at that moment. Let's continue to see what she was saying, so you can be able to understand, figure out what
that money to a bank account, a Chase bank account, which actually belonged to Hush Puppy and not the client. $100 million from a Premier League soccer club. The FBI wouldn't tell us which one it is. I have people working in the FBI, and I have FBI sources who will tell me things. Kemi, don't mention my name. So putting all the sources in the FBI and the Secret Service, the United States Secret Service, broke the part of the story that had to do with the COVID ventilators. There were two people in this scam that orchestrated it. A Canadian American called Galeb Alomari, and the second person was Hush Puppy. Galeb was the one doing all the hacking with his boys. He had all kinds of Romanian hackers, North Korean hackers working for him. And Hush Puppy was the one moving the money, laundering it, with a lot of Nigerian young men working in his house. There was a room where they took 100.
Can you imagine what she's saying? It's impossible for even FBI in the world to know who is sitting in a particular computer. You can only guess. I don't want to go further in, saying something that is very, very sensitive to when it comes to investigation. But what she's saying is a trash, okay? And you can never know who a particular person who's sitting in a particular computer doing hacking, doing this, doing that. It's impossible. These things she's saying is a trash, should not be listened, because no FBI can call Kemi and say, look, this is what is going on, and don't say it. Even a private investigator, ordinary private investigator, can never disclose information the way it is. Talk less of FBI. So I want you to continue to listen so you can understand what she's saying, that doesn't make sense.
129 laptops and 47 phones. So they were doing the money part. He was doing the hacking part. Now, there was a point in which one of our OAPs here, Daddy Freeze, visited Dubai. And last year, he used that opportunity to visit Hush Puppy and wanted a tour of that house. So while they were eating dinner, if you go back to that video, you'll notice a part where Hush Puppy actually got up to go away into the room to make a phone call. That phone call, the FBI played it to us. Okay, he left Freeze in the dining table, but he went to make that phone call. What's up, bro? That's Hush Puppy. Alomari, I'm on the plane. We're about to land. The signal is poor. 922,000 came in. Okay, big money came in. He said, okay, send me the screenshot. Okay, when I get to the terminal, the plane will, when the plane gets to the terminal, the signal is back, the network. Okay. So Hush Puppy wanted the screenshot.
In the first place, Hush Puppy was posting something on his Instagram, and they made a slight mistake by posting an email address which was used to, receive communication to a client, the victim. That is how this investigation started. Secondly, the issue at hand, led to this arrest or to the hush puppy case in US is based on somebody, their client in Qatar, who the owner of a school or foundation that wanted to source for lend money so he can be able to build or develop his school infrastructure. So Hush Puppy then posed as a financier, somebody to a lender. That is what put them into problem, not what Kemi is talking about. I don't know where he mixed in apple with orange. It doesn't make sense. I want you to listen attentively so you can understand exactly what I'm telling you, that this she's saying does not make sense.
So as Alomari got out of the plane, the FBI caught him, and that was the end of it. Now, when they caught Alomari, was it Alomari that outed Hush Puppy? Possibly. But also, Alomari's boys just got out $100 million from the COVID ventilator money.
All right, Madam Kemi, let me just tell you to hold on there. We'll come back to you shortly. Let's bring in Ade Shumoju into this conversation as well. Thank you so much for joining us. As you have heard, and as we know, to a large extent, these were massive, sophisticated scams. But it would seem a dispute between members of the syndicate was their undoing. What exactly do we know about that dispute? How was all of this busted?
Like Kemi has done justice to the facts leading to the case. Nigerians were, Hush Puppy has been a figure many Nigerians, particularly the youth, have been looking up to. People wanted to be like him. He attributes his successes in businesses to hard work and the grace of God and all of that. So he was a sort of a role model. And when, Don Kemi laid out, when the facts came and the stories, came out, and Nigerians were really wanted to know what was really going on, and because of that, Premium Times devoted a lot of resources and human capital, monitoring the development, especially at the point where it got to court. You see, we cannot but emphasize at this stage how sophisticated the crime Hush Puppy was caught in is a transnational network of criminals. Yep.
I want you to understand my point here. You see, this question was thrown to this journalist. The question here is how Hush Puppy and their gang got into their disputes and what warranted that dispute. Because it was the same dispute that warranted one of the Hush Puppy gang, Vincent, to alerting the victim in Qatar that everything is a scam, that all what they were doing in financing his school infrastructure is a scam. That is where this issue came in. So if you check very well, if you listen to the question here is how Hush Puppy and his people got into dispute that led Vincent, one of them, to alert the victim that what they were doing was scam. This is the question. And this man is not answering the question. He's talking about Nigeria, the youth, the Hush Puppy life. It doesn't make sense. This is not professionalism. The Nigerian journalists or television channels should start deceiving people. They should engage in professional journalism so people can understand, make things very interesting. Look at the question asked to this journalist. He's not answering nothing. He does not even know the issue. Nobody can give out information that is classified until that information becomes declassified. Even if that information is available, it cannot dispose it because it will jeopardize the investigation. Mind you, this investigation still linking to other victims, and the investigation is still ongoing, even though that Hush Puppy have pleaded guilty last April, not August. Look at what they are saying, because they are not following up and they don't want to, admit what they don't know. So I want you to continue to listen so you can be able to understand where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to make you to understand here.
Yes, hacking into emails across the world, duping people of millions of dollars. As it is today, about $25 million have been linked to Hush Puppy alone. So, but you see the sophisticated crime being matched with sophisticated law enforcement and the judiciary. Hush Puppy was arrested in Dubai in June. By June 25, a charge was already pending in the US. And like Kemi said, he was actually expelled. There was no extradition law between the US and Dubai. So he was expelled from Dubai and handed over to the FBI and brought to the US. By July 2, he landed in the US. And by August 1 or 2, he was already in court, pleading guilty. And along the line, other crimes have been unraveled involving him. And, to tell you how, where law is setting, law enforcement and efficient, things are, clockwork efficient. You see that by January, when he pleaded guilty in August, by January, he changed his lawyer. February, he changed his lawyer. And in fact, we were already preparing for the trial. He changed his lawyer in February, and the lawyer, that's Luis Shapiro, sometimes in March, wrote the court and asking for the date to be shifted from May to July, which was yesterday. Along the line, the U.S. government applied to the court to allow them to have some pieces of information on the documents to be handed over to the defense, redacted, so that it will, the names of co-conspirators that have yet to be arrested, the identities, addresses, and all of that technical strategy deployed in prosecuting the case will also be shielded from the public. And that order was granted. So we were all expecting for trial yesterday when we saw this. So that is where we are. And as you go through the plea agreement he had with the United States government, he will be pleading guilty at the time to be fixed, because he will still be brought to court to officially plead guilty, to change his former not guilty plea to guilty. And after then, there will be a sentencing hearing. So I think that is where we are currently.
Well, Ade, thank you very much for those details. But two quick things. How did Premium Times manage to focus so much attention on that story without necessarily being on the ground in the United States? Maybe there's something you can tell us about that. But more importantly, Premium Times has a story about a plea bargain that Hush Puppy has entered into. If you could also help us outline the details of that plea bargain.
Yeah, thank you, Sabati. Of course, Hush Puppy, the kinds of Hush Puppy around the world, Nigerians, young Nigerians like him, we have many Nigerians doing well all across the world, but we also have a few of them who are actually giving Nigeria the bad name that people are quick to remember. When Hush Puppy was arrested, it was a mixed feeling here.
I want you to hang on here and let us analyze this again. The question here is about Hush Puppy pleading guilty. And this is what was asked to this journalist to explain. And he started talking around the bush. So, when people comes to television channel, they come to listen and, get things analyzed the way it's supposed to be, not asking somebody A and the person answering B. A simple question is, talk about the Premium Channel or, newspaper or whatever who broke the the news that Hush Puppy pleaded guilty. To talk about the guilty plea. This is what was asked to him. So when you're asking people that does not know what they are saying, just because they're carrying certificate to say, I'm a I'm a journalist, sorry, I'm into journalism, does not make sense. That is why people need to checkmate them. And that is why we have this misinformation from top in Nigeria, from Ministry of Information to everyone who feel they can buy a smartphone. This doesn't make sense. I want you to continue to listen to him if he will be able to answer the question. So I want you to listen so we go from there.
Some people saw this. I mean, consider the kind of influence that he commanded. A lot of Nigerians, many Nigerians actually was saying, some were even saying they were lying against him. So it was an issue of public interest, and Premium Times, as we are known for, saw it as an issue that we need to really highlight, focus on, to really tell the world, to tell Nigerians what really happened, how bad this guy has done to our image as a country. So we deploy resources, we deploy focused attention. We had network of journalists that we worked with, getting documents to have an accurate reporting on all the issues, blow by blow, up to what we had yesterday. Yes, talking about the plea bargain, I think one other thing that jumps out when I was reading to the document yesterday was how the judiciary, the law enforcement, the diligence, the sophistication, the dedication, and the resources they actually put in combating crime. This is a crime that was described by the FBI as one of their most difficult form of cybercrime. The FBI said in 2019 alone, they lost. There was a record of a sum of $1.7 billion lost to business email compromise form of crime alone, when the hackers get into the business email of companies. They take charge of the conversations, they block the email, or they divert communication. So they take advantage of ongoing conversations with business partners and unknown to the victims. The communication will continue, thinking they will now provide an account where funds that are meant to fund a particular project that was being discussed will be paid into. You see, so this is what really happened.
Okay.
When you look at the plea bargain, okay, you know that.
Okay. Go ahead. Just go ahead. Just finish up that thought I did before.
The plea bargain, you see. You see in the plea bargain the intention of government, law enforcement agencies to actually combat, to use crime to be, to use prosecution to be a form of deterrence to people. You see, a lot of rights have been waived. That has, the rights to appeal, right to have speedy trial, right to, a lot of rights, constitutional rights that are supposed to inure to a defendant have been waived. And if you look at it, unlike what we have here, where people go into plea bargain, just to.
Okay, let me bring Kemi in here. So, Kemi, what are the other things we should know as regards this case? You and Ade, you've done an extensive and very good job as regards bringing this out. But what are the other connections? Some other names, you mentioned, the likes of Woodbury. I think there was also the case of Mofa,
Mofa is not related to this case.
Okay, it's not related.
Mofa is a BDC operator, and he actually works for his uncle. Okay. So his own case is with the EFCC. Okay. Now, what I wanted to say on what Ade said, what Ade said really needs to be taken very seriously. Premium Times is a newspaper that really focuses on investigative journalism. And for me personally, Ade said something from the point of the media. Only Premium Times, myself, and you, Arise Now, analyzing it, really, really touched this case in deep. And if the government, has to look at the bigger picture, if they ask me, what do you want us to do? I will say, bring the Premium Times guy, myself, okay? And let us sit with the ministers for technology, the ministers for finance, and the ministers for foreign affairs on a round table to discuss how this can stop. It is not just hush puppy.
This does not make sense because I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Nobody will bring you in our table with the minister because you don't have a legal background. You are just a journalist who's talking too much. You're talking things that you are not asked to say and linking people that are there on making efforts to combat crime around the world, blowing things out of content. So nobody can call you to sit in round table with minister because of technology, because of, you're not an investigator, you are not a prosecutor, you're not a lawyer, you're just a journalist who go against your own, on your own interest, who even requested money for from Hush Puppy, who refused to give you the money. So you cannot go and sit with the minister. There are some sensitive information that does not need to put in public domain. You must know how to talk. You must know how to answer questions. You must know how to analyze things so you don't put people at risk or say something that is against the national security or break a security protocol because you have the opportunity to answer a question. It doesn't make sense for any journalist to go on television and start talking anyhow. And the anchor or the desk manager of every television channel should know how to filter things, how to evaluate somebody's psychological aspect and the physical aspect of life, and to know whether that person is capable of answering one question instead of blowing things or going out of content. It is not a good reputation. So nobody can call Kemi and say, sit in the same table with the minister. Those are professional inputs. You cannot do that. So don't come here to sell your personal interest. Let's continue to watch so we can understand, finalize this issue here.
It's a lot of Nigerians. Now, Rufai, Dr. Abati Adesua, are you aware that last night I got more documents from the FBI of this wristwatch that was purchased in January, February, and sent to Hush Puppy in Dubai for millions of dollars of nairas. These people that orchestrated that particular part of the scam, if you read the page 9 of the 29 documents of the plea agreement, you will see it there. These were like 4 girls, 4 women, and 3 guys in the United States. They just arrested them last week, July 22nd. So the arrests are still coming in, Now, let me tell you one part of that whole COVID thing. The $100 million were for ventilators for COVID. And what Donald Trump wanted was to put those funds were going through the United States Secret Service. They're another elite law enforcement agency. When Alamari hacked into it reportedly, the $100 million came out.
Hey, Kemi, stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. You should stop talking. In the first place, you should stop talking because you are not a witness. You are not a complainant. You are not a victim. You are a journalist. You're supposed to be neutral to say things the way it's supposed to be instead of going A to Z and B to W. Does not make sense. You don't work with United States government. How do you know where the money intends to go? They ask you a simple question about what, as a journalist, your own input. You don't go around talking something does not make sense, quoting things out of content or over-quoting issues that does not exist. The issue here is about Hush Puppy case. That is what is being analyzed. Nobody's asking you how and where covert money is going. And the Hush Puppy was not charged for covert money. It was the issue of fake finance to a Qatar school owner. This is what is at the stake to discuss. Don't put things out of content because this making it less, making things not being interesting for people to listen. I want you to continue so you can be able to, you know, understand.
The 30 million, 30% is Hush Puppy's money, and the 70% is Alomari and his boys. So when Hush Puppy had heard, this is according to an FBI source, when Hush Puppy had heard that they've captured Alomari, rather than just go down low, lay low, whatever, he double-crossed. Okay, according to my source, he allegedly double-crossed Alomari's boys of that 70 million and kept the whole 100 out of greed. Those boys were the ones that tipped the FBI off on the entire operation, and they found a way to start looking for Hush Puppy. And then Hush Puppy flashed everything and all that. This is one of the reasons why he fired Jill Pisetsky and Vicky Prodybeski, the first two lawyers who are saying, oh, our client was kidnapped, our client is an influencer. That wouldn't work. I know Louis Shapiro. He's a very good lawyer.
In the first place, I said it here, Hush Puppy caught the FBI eye or interest because he posted something on his Instagram and made a mistake, a screenshot of money wire transfer. You can see the email very clearly, showing at the bottom of that post. And he's been under watch. But when that email corresponded with the email used to wire money from a victim, that's what caught their eye. And the issue of the Qatar, school owner that they went to lend money, it was Vincent, after dispute, alerted the victim that those things were fake. And that is why, during the dispute, that is where Hush Puppy and Vincent was having a problem, led Hush Puppy to, filing a petition that Vincent is threatening his life. That is where Abakari were contacted. And that is how Abakari came into the picture. That is where the issue of arrest and the discussion with Abakari and, Hush Puppy came to play. Nothing more. So when it comes to journalism, I think people should be very clear on what they are saying, okay, instead of quoting things out of content. Let's continue here to see, you can also understand what I'm trying to.
Yeah, and I said it on my Instagram page. When Shapiro gets in there, he's just going to tell the feds, plea deal. And this is the problem we're having now with Woodbury. Olalekan Ponle, the second in command. This is the boy that was in South Africa. Ponle was in South Africa, and he fled South Africa because they wanted to kill him. There was one particular Yahoo over there called Ali Baba. It was a big BEC, and a lot of money came out of it. And I heard our boys, we're going to share that money, and Woodbury reportedly fled Dubai when he heard they're going to kill him. He didn't want to release the money. They were going to kill him, the cultist boys. And he fled to Dubai and moved with Hush Puppy. When he got to Dubai, he settled the boys. But at the end of the day, the BEC emails and the scams were still on Woodbury's phone. And that's why he's having a trouble now with his trial in Chicago. They have another lawyer that they've added to that case. I'm covering that too. The next date is August 6th. His name is Thomas Durkin. And Durkin is another very good lawyer. They're paying these lawyers huge amounts of sums. And Woodbury is in what they call a proffer, where they'll sit down with the feds and all that. And Woodbury has still not done that plea agreement. He needs to do the plea agreement because they'll give him 10 years because he's facing 30 years. 10 instead of 30, like Obi Okeke, Obiwani Okeke. He confessed and they gave him 10 instead of 30. So this whole BEC stuff from South Africa was still on Woodbury's phone, and the lawyers have looked at it. So we're hoping in August 6th, they'll decide to do a plea agreement too. If you notice, Hush Puppy's plea agreement was done in April 7th, and they just released it to us. They released it to us on the day of the trial 2 days ago. We are calling in, Premium Times and myself, we're calling into that system, PACER, PACER, United States Federal Court, system. They actually did PACER because of coronavirus. You dial in, you're accredited, you put your code, you can hear everything in the courtroom.
For want of time, I want to really chip in more questions here.
Sure.
You've been following this case. Premium Times has told us why they decided to go after this.
Yes.
What jumped at you? Why did you decide to follow this case? And if you could just answer as well, for a lot of Nigerians, or some Nigerians, this did not come as a surprise with the luxurious lifestyle Hush Puppy was flaunting on social media platforms. But why do you think anybody should pay attention to this case?
Okay, Adesua, let's get personal. You asked me, why did I get into this case? One, I'm a journalist. Number two, the same question BBC asked me in London. BBC London called me. They noticed that Hush Puppy and I had some interaction. Okay, I was curious.
Okay, I want you to listen here. This will make a point of what I'm trying to say. When Kemi contacted Hush Puppy for money as soon as he came out of the prison from Port Harcourt. So, and Hush Puppy turned her down. You can see the grievances where she's blowing like, a wing, like a fly that doesn't have a destination. So listen to her very well. You can see exactly what I'm trying to explain to you. Her grievances over Hush Puppy.
I want to follow what's going on. The interaction was years ago. When I came out of Port Harcourt prison, when I was detained, I was sick, very ill, and I had a huge medical bill, and I had to treat myself. So I did a fundraiser online, and I started going to the DMs of famous stars, people that had money. Okay, I'm blunt. I needed the money. So I went to Hush Puppy's page, and I sent him a message, and I did a post. And he said I have to apologize to a certain blogger before he could give me money. I apologized to the blogger. The post is still on his page. I apologized to the blogger and he didn't give me the money. And I called him. I said, you're a scammer. Okay, you scammed me. You let me apologize to my nemesis and you scammed me. At the end of the day, I said something that some people picked up. You're a scammer. So when I heard this stuff, it came from one of the people in that house, Palazzo Versace, that afternoon, 4 o'clock, our time, 7 Dubai. Said they just arrested Hush Puppy. They just raided the house. They just, and that's how I broke the story. Then I followed it since then. And then one of the reporters at the Gulf called me and said, hey, Kemi, Hush Puppy going to America tomorrow. I'm speaking with his Arab accent. He said, Hush Puppy going to America. How? Extraordinary rendition. I mean, activists don't like it. They'll pull you from a third country. Look where Hush Puppy is. He's with the U.S. Marshals. He's not in a prison. You know where the Marshals are? They have 2 locations that I know of. One in Colorado, underground bunkers. They have a whole city under the ground. And the other one, Florida, in the middle of the ocean. Helicopters come and go. They can't escape. It's for dangerous fugitives. That's what they classified Hush Puppy as. And then I saw the charging documents. I saw the crimes. I saw everything. So I would say this case is going to end up with a sentence of, well, I'm not God and I'm not a judge, but with my FBI sources, all the U.S. law enforcement sources, and even sources in the U.S. Embassy. The U.S. Embassy here in Victoria Island has an FBI attaché in there, and they have, because they...
Stop talking too much. Stop talking. A simple question was thrown to you. You claim to be a journalist. Look, a simple question was thrown to you. We don't want to know if they have FBI or CIA in American Embassy in Nigeria. We don't want to know those things we're trying to explain. They ask you a simple question. Simple question as a journalist. Stop blowing things out of context. You are misleading the society. You are breaking security protocol. You are talking things you are not supposed to say. You are saying things like a comedian. You talking like as if you are not a journalist. So what's going on here? Somebody should stop this woman because I don't understand what is going on. She's going from Aba to Umuahia, from Umuahia to Onitsha, Onitsha to Abuja, Abuja to... Does not make sense as a journalist. Who brought this woman here? I don't understand. It's very, very unprofessional. Does not make sense. Let us continue to see what she's saying so we can understand that this does not make sense. It's not it's unprofessional what she's doing.
They're doing that because it has changed everything about getting a visa. 2 weeks ago, some of our children who got I-20 visas are stealing 1.7 million, withdrawing it at ATM. We saw them. So the embassy has to be very careful who's getting the visas. And we want them not to let these kids be affected. The ones actually going to school and not doing Yahoo. And so with that being said, I'm looking at 15 years for Hush Puppy. Good behavior, clean, mop, do dishes, be good to other inmates, be respectful. He'll get out in 15 years. Oh. Now, after that 15 years, real quick, I know we don't have time, but after that 15 years, you got another big problem, okay? St. Nevis and Kitts, St. Christopher and Kitts, the passport he's carrying, they're going to revoke this passport. A government official is telling me. Okay, because proceeds of the crime purchased that passport. So we now have to look at investment passports. People can buy a passport for $150,000. Yes.
Yeah, we have just about a minute to go.
Okay.
Many young people look up to the likes of Invictus, Hush Puppy, Woodbury. What will you say to those young people who regard these persons as heroes in their own view, and they want to be like them?
What I say to them, I'm already saying it to them. Leave this Yahoo alone, okay? So it bigs up the bigger picture, all right? We need money. We want the federal government. I'm saying this now in Arise, and I thank you for giving me this platform. We need the federal government to give us money. I did a content creation seminar 2 weeks ago. This is a 50,000 naira seminar. They don't have that to pay me. They don't have 30,000. I did it for 10,000, and some people did it. Others want to do it. We don't make money from this, but if the government puts this funding out for people like us, my headgear is coming out, for people like us that have this training, let us teach them how to blog, how to create content, how to do comedy skits, how to monetize it, how to make money on the internet, instead of them trying to steal all the time. This is what I'm telling the government. This next election, 2023, put our money to the people that can help the youth. Look at the boy from Abeg Technologies, 2 billion invested in Big Brother Nigeria, and Patricia, another 1 billion there. Young people sponsoring. The regular sponsors, you know, the detergent companies and all that, 200 million, they beat them out. Tech is the new oil. Let us use it well. Let's teach these kids to stop stealing with tech. And let the police know. We want the police and the EFCC to know that if they're carrying a laptop, they don't need to be profiled. It is not always Yahoo. Let us help these children. My children are not American, not Nigerian. They're American. 2 over there, 1 here. Okay? But these children here in Nigeria are Nigerians like me. And this is my country. Let me help them. They have nowhere to go.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ade Adeshomoju and Camille
Thank you,
Lawyer.
Dr. Abbas.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Rufai.
Thank you.
Okay, so you have listened this video recap from the Arise channel, the recap from A to Z, and you can analyze things by yourself, and you can go through it one, take time to listen and go through this video. You should be able to figure out what I'm telling you, that why we need to put the Nigerian journalists or the news agencies to the right track, to act in line with the ethic code of conduct of journalism, instead of them behaving recklessly and quoting things out of content. Thank you very much, and we will follow up